Welcome to another episode of What's the Point podcast, a unique show about men and their mental health. There are no doctors, no professionals, just real men talking about real stuff. And now, the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new edition of What's the Point podcast, where you, our thousands of listeners, are the point. You're the reason we do this, although we do enjoy it too. I'm here with the co-founder of the Face It Foundation, Mr. Mark Meyer.
Super excited to be here. I am in the presence of one really good hockey player.
Wicker wasn't that good.
I know.
Wow. As you just heard the name, we have Mr. Mark Wick with us today.
He's speechless.
It's okay. Let's go. I don't know if I'm going to say it's good to be here or not. I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
We'll see.
I think it's important to tell the listeners we've kind of beat up on you a little bit before we started.
Clint, they know that.
They know that. They look forward to that.
Yeah. They call in.
Yeah. And we are lucky, too, to have the producer extraordinaire of the Tom Bernard podcast, as well as the What's the Point podcast. Mr. Andy Bernard is with us.
Hello.
Good to see you, Andy.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I know.
It's been almost a month, hasn't it?
Crazy. Yeah.
What do you guys think as my mustache come in, guys? Have you noticed?
Oh, God, we're still
Any better?
talking about this.
Hold on, let me magnify our video so
There
I
we
can...
go. Yeah, bring it in on him.
Yeah. I think it's
Can you zoom a
coming
little
in.
more?
It's
I
looking
know, it
pretty
looks
good.
Actually, you know what? I think I can.
Cold
There you
Stone
go.
Steve
Look at
Austin.
that.
There you go.
Have you been taking hair off the top?
Yeah.
Actually, and put it down here. Sure.
Hey, Clint, want a job, buddy?
Spot for you right here on the couch. See ya.
Yeah. Now, this part all here left a long time ago. And Clint, I'm 62, and I told some friends when I started growing this, because I've never had facial hair, I said, you know what? I said, this is a midlife crisis, and I can't afford a Corvette like Wick can. So this is all I could afford. So this is my mustache that I'm keeping on. And I don't know if any of you guys have had facial hair. It's itchy, it's scratchy, I hate it.
Yeah, when you first start growing it, it's so itchy.
And everyone says, oh, you just got to power through a couple weeks. Oh, you got to power through for a few months. After a year or so, you won't even notice it. It's like, nah, man, I don't have the commitment for that. So this may be the last show with this on. We'll see.
Well, when you look like you do, I wouldn't be throwing your age out there.
I think that's a compliment.
Was it?
Yeah, it's a compliment.
I mean, because if you think,
because he's probably thought you were 42.
Yeah. We are super lucky today to have a wonderful guest with us. Clint Malarchuk is with us all the way from what, Vegas?
Nope.
Where are you
Oh,
at?
I hate that.
Hey, let me step in. Hey, how's things in Reno?
Reno.
I'm an hour south of Reno, Lake Tahoe, Reno area. Yeah. I used to live in Vegas, and at that time it was a very small city. It was pretty cool, and then boom, it exploded, and I had to get out.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Apparently he's
My
in Reno,
pleasure.
and every time I've been in that area and I call him,
He's
he
out.
just happens to be out of town that day.
Yeah.
Darn it.
In Vegas, probably.
It probably.
Yeah. That's
Normally,
the only time I go to Vegas.
Yeah, this is when Wicker comes
normally
up.
right here we have a question.
All right.
Yep.
And do you have a question?
I've
for
got a
us, Dave?
question today
Okay.
for the group here.
All of us?
Nope, not Clint.
Okay.
How many teeth do horses have?
Ooh.
109.
No.
Okay. Hey, you'll find this ain't the brightest group.
Yeah.
Okay.
4.
You get one guess.
At least one.
Jesus, people.
13.
I'm going to say 40.
Oh, there you go. You're getting there. Pretty good.
Seems
Wick's
like
looking
Clint
it
already
up.
knows this
Oh,
one.
no, I know it.
What is it?
I'm gonna ask Clint because of the fact that you might not know this, but Clint is a horse dentist
I actually did know that.
and a horse chiropractor.
We read
Yeah.
some of that somewhere.
So how many teeth?
Are you asking to me now? You said I couldn't
No,
be part of the show.
now you can.
It depends if you're counting wolf teeth, canines.
Yep.
40, 44 is pretty accurate.
Huh.
40
Yep.
good.
Oh, whatever.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I did grow up around him.
After I work on them, Mark was right. 1.
1.
Yeah, well, that's good business. This one's got to come out. So does this one. This one should come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just eat soft apples from here on out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How about, obviously with horses, how about donkeys?
Where are we going
They're
with
all
this?
pretty. They're all the same. I mean, ask Wicker. He's the donkey on the show.
Let me count.
It just keeps getting better and better.
Up by our retreat center up northern Minnesota, Clint, there's a farm that has a donkey, and it's in a little pen right on side of the road. It's called Earl the Donkey. It's got its own Facebook page and everything. And people just drive up, and for $1, you can feed him carrots and take pictures.
Yeah.
And it's just cute as heck, but I was just wondering how many teeth he would have.
Well, about the same.
Probably 40.
Huh.
Yep.
I'll count next time.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love it.
So,
Pay me $1 to
when
feed
did-
me.
When did they change Wicker's name to? Did you say Irv?
Irv.
Wow.
What's the name of the donkey?
Earl.
Oh,
yeah.
Earl.
Yeah.
So they changed
I think
it
you
from
just
Wicker
got
to
yourself
Earl.
a new nickname.
Anyways,
Mark, Bill, and Earl
anyways,
with Andy guiding
super
the ship.
excited to have Clint here today.
Yes. Actually,
And-
we really are. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you, Clint. We appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' time coming in. That question was wonderful. It's given me something to think about. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear more about Clint's story in just a minute.
Founded in 2006 by Josh Egner, JT Egner Construction is a trusted commercial construction company built on a passion for serving clients and building lasting partnerships. Every project is approached from the client's perspective, listening to their needs, understanding their vision, and delivering tailored solutions that align with their unique goals. JT Egner specializes in helping both for-profit and nonprofit organizations build, manage, and improve their facilities. Their expertise spans sectors like industrial sites, medical facilities, corporate headquarters, worship spaces and childcare centers, senior living communities, retail spaces, and restaurants. Whether it's ground-up construction, renovations and additions, or ongoing facility management, their mission is to partner with leadership teams to create functional and efficient spaces. Josh shares, "What drives me is the joy of serving others, working as part of a team, and solving challenges. We truly love our work. We know construction can be stressful, so we value the opportunity to guide you every step of the way from the initial conception to the final completion." So for all your commercial construction needs, reach out to Josh and the team at JT Egner Construction at 952-985-0582 or online at jtagner.com.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
You know, we're so lucky to have JT Egner as a sponsor and our good friend Matt Bonner up. Gosh, he's a good guy. We should get him on this podcast.
If you ever want to build a building, a church, anything, they do a lot of work with
JT
nonprofits
Egner,
where
yeah.
they kind of lowball some things to help nonprofits out building certain facilities and stuff.
Great group of guys.
Yeah.
Well, what an honor to have you here, Clint. And I know I'm just meeting you here in the last few minutes, but I've read a lot about you. I've read your book, and actually there's a story behind your book, and Face It. Maybe we'll get a chance to get to that towards the end of the show. But
Well, I'm glad I put pictures in the book if you're reading it. So.
well, it's usually I look for the audio versions of things, but my wife read it to me, but we'll leave that out of the show. You've got a heck of a story, and it's got a lot of different layers to it. Tell us what you can, and I wish we had 4 hours to sit and talk with you, but tell us a little bit about your mental health journey.
Oh boy, I came from I guess a dysfunctional home, but who didn't? Like who comes from the perfect home? But my dad was a abusive alcoholic, and whether that had, sure it did. I'm sure it did some of my anxiety, but did that make me a clinically ill person? I struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression as a kid, obsessive compulsive disorder, all undiagnosed.
Yeah.
Back then, but I was hospitalized for a couple months when I was about 12. Somehow I just pushed through. I guess looking back, I relate. I struggled with a lot of things, but you just push through, and I never felt normal, but I had, what is normal?
Right.
What do you gauge normality at? So then in 1989, I was playing with the Buffalo Sabres, and I almost died on the ice. I cut my jugular vein by a skate, came back, hockey player, 10 days, I'm back playing, felt weak because of the loss of blood, things like that. But that's when things really, I didn't know at the time, but trauma, because I prepared 100% for death. I thought I was dying. We had a team chaplain. I called for him. I told the trainer, call my mom, tell her I love her. So that's a pretty major trauma when you think you're facing death.
So
and I was.
Can I step
And I
in there
was.
for a second, Clint? Because I know we don't have time for the whole thing, but a little context of when that happened and just about that period, because I've heard your story in detail about, what it was on, who was watching,
Oh.
how close were you?
Oh, I was minutes from death.
Yep.
Had it not been a major sporting event, and our medical trainer, who was first to me, was a Vietnam medic, so he'd seen this sort of blood.
Oh,
and
that's lucky.
Yeah.
Yes. The accident happened at the end of the arena in Buffalo, where our locker room was right there. Our team doctor was right there, because we're talking minutes. So there was a lot of little God shots that saved my life. Yeah, my mom was watching the game on the big satellite dishes back then. And I was thinking of her, and everybody says, wow, they were yelling for a stretcher. I'm like, I don't have time to get on a stretcher. But the other reason I got up and off the ice, I did not want my mother to see her son die on TV.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but following that, the years following that, I got a deep depression, worse OCD, worse panic attacks now, nightmares with the skate coming up and me grabbing my neck. And, you think when they sit straight up in bed and they're grabbing their neck or grabbing their, nightmare, PTSD, military movie, whatever, it doesn't happen. And I was like, wow, I'm just like an actor like Brad Pitt, except way better looking. And so for 2 years, then I finally got diagnosed because I couldn't function. I couldn't leave the house, and I OD'd on some painkillers accidentally. I hadn't slept in 10, 12 days because of the nightmares. So I didn't want to sleep. So I'd sit in a chair and just try to sleep like on an airplane, where you're not going to get a REM sleep. And so I'm sleep deprived. We had a Super Bowl party at Pat LaFontaine's house, our captain. And I had a couple of beers and left, half hour. And I went home, and I was playing with a broken thumb, and I had these painkillers that hadn't been taken. Said, do not drink with alcohol, will make you drowsy. So I took 5 or 6 and drained a bottle of scotch and said, I'm going to sleep. So anyways, my heart stopped. I wake up in the hospital, and they thought that was a possible suicide attempt. I said, no, that comes later. But that's where I told the doctor, psychiatrist, everything. And that's the first time I got diagnosed with PTSD, panic attacks, OCD, depression, anxiety, mental illness, let's say. So I started about a 2-year, 3-year almost, different pills, different diet. Now you got to remember, this is in the early 90s now, and the medications were different. And it was nothing was working. My play went down they put me on a drug called Haldol, which is highly sedative. It's a sedative, and I'm playing in the NHL trying to stop Mark Wick slap shots.
But who could?
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they were 100 miles an hour. But basically, I'm stoned playing in the NHL. So my play, I get sent to the minors, and I couldn't even play in the minors. I was terrible. So I tried to retire, and our coach and GM, Rick Dudley and Donnie Waddell, said, hey, we'll get you into a doctor. I'm like, you know what? I've been down this for 3 years. Nothing's going to work. But anyways, I went to this world-renowned psychiatrist, Dr. Stahl. He was the leading psychiatrist, did talks, and he says, you're going to be fine. He says, you've got a chemical imbalance of the brain. It's like a diabetic. It's a chemical imbalance of the pancreas. No different organ. You got a chemical imbalance of the brain. I'm like, no shit, I'm a goalie. But no, he put me on this medication. I didn't have much hope, but he was very, very confident. He said, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. 6 weeks, never looked back. The medication kicked in. The OCD left at 9 weeks, but the depression, I was in San Diego, in Southern California, playing in the IHL. And I remember driving at 6 weeks to see Dr. Stahl. And I'm like, oh boy, look at the weather here. Roll down the window. Palm trees. Wow. that's how deep and dark I was. My depression.
Well, and I want to say something real quick if I can. You know, I hear your story. I hear about, you know, you're talking about you're born in 61. How old were you when you met Dr. Stahl? Roughly.
32, 30, in there, 30, early 30s.
But long before you ever saw the ice as an NHL player, you alluded to very briefly that at 12 years of age you were hospitalized.
Yeah, with severe anxiety.
So that was 1973. What was it like being in the hospital at 12 in 1973?
It was terrible because all they would do, and you got to remember, we're going back a lot of years and we've come a long ways. Basically, they when I had a meltdown or anxiety or panic attack, they'd come in and put a needle in my butt and sedate me.
So you were probably traumatized long when you mentioned you alluded to the fact you had an alcoholic father who I'm guessing didn't pat you on the top of the head when things were going poorly. So
he was a great guy, but when he drank, the monster.
Yep. So you and I want to point this out just for our listeners because obviously we can point the finger the horrific thing that happened to you in the hockey game. But the reality is, for so many of us guys, the trauma hits long before we ever have the big moment in time.
Yeah.
A lot of guys feel that the trauma has to be in a foxhole in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about the childhood
Exactly.
traumas. Obviously the hockey one was a big one, but there were a lot of things, like Mark said, that happened to you before then that led to some of your challenges.
Well, like I touched on it a little bit, that trauma, and I knew nothing about this at that time. If you're predisposed to things like you guys mentioned, childhood trauma or whatever, when you have a major trauma like I did with the skate, everything just explodes. And that's what happened. I didn't know anything about that. And I did not get diagnosed with PTSD until 20 years later, because PTSD was not even a set of words back then. You know, go ahead.
Can you speak a little bit about your experience with OCD? Because I think between OCD and ADHD, I think there's a lot of guys that come to face it. I think there's a lot of people in general that this OCD thing is just ignored. Because unless you're an obsessive hand washer, sometimes these mental health professionals aren't asking the right questions.
No, it can take on so many different forms. I did go through contamination phases as a kid, especially. I still do. I get on. I'm always, if I shake somebody's hand, to this day, I will not touch my face or pick my nose or anything until I can wash my hands or get a hand sanitizer. I'm still that conscious of it. So the connotation, you're right. Excessive showering, light switches, hand washing. No, it can come on in so many. Another former goaltender that is a good friend of mine. He came out and contacted me. He's got OCD, and I'm not going to say what his obsession is, because it's embarrassing for him. But it can take on many different forms. But I will tell you this, it is a very debilitating disorder.
I always think back to Andre Agassi's book, and he has bad OCD, and he talked about being at Wimbledon on center court when people would get mad at him because he'd bounce. I mean, just it's just so not talked about. It'd be a great show sometime to really talk about OCD.
Right.
And again, you were in a sport where those types of behaviors are kind of accentuated also with routines and superstitions and, and those types of things that everybody's going through.
Well, just as an athlete, with the stress of an upcoming game and warm-ups and everything, that's where you will see obsessive behavior with athletes, superstitions, because stress brings that out. Now, imagine if you got OCD. Stress brings it out. So before a game, my OCD was crazy, and everybody I could hide behind the superstition thing because that's what athletes do.
Exactly.
You know, and I did.
Just like I could hide behind the depression and the anger part of it by yelling at the refs.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't depression. That was just, as you know, refs
coaching.
suck.
That's coaching.
That's coaching. That's what coaches do, you know?
Yes. So everybody
it,
say, "Oh, he's
people
just a
accept
coach."
it. Yeah.
But in your mind, you're just venting out your getting out of yourself.
Yep. And you're just doing your routines.
And your pain.
Yep.
And your pain. But everybody go, "Oh, he's just a coach. He can do." That's what coaches do.
Yep.
You touched on it a little earlier about sleeping and stuff, and we do work with a lot of military guys. And one guy in particular said, you know what? I always get afraid at night because that's when the slideshow starts.
Yeah, that's a great, wow. That's a great visual.
And it was not sleeping because that's when it gets dark. You're supposed to go to bed. This is bedtime. But he was afraid to go to bed because he knew what was going to happen. And as he described it, that's when his slideshow started.
I've got a great guest for you coming up. I just thought of that as you're speaking. The bipolar general, Greg Martin, General Greg Martin, bipolar. He'd be an awesome guest for your people.
And then we have to remember that 12 days without sleeping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
what is one of the ways of torture in war times?
Yep.
Right.
Well, if we could,
Sleep deprivation.
if we could put actual restorative sleep in a pill, we'd solve about 95% of our mental health problems in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because everything gets so exacerbated, and by that, when I went into the hospital, I hadn't slept for days. I was a runner. I was up running at 2:00 in the morning, and you're psychotic at that point.
Right.
And you sprinkle in a few painkillers and a little scotch, and now the game's really on, right?
Yep. No, last summer I went through another spell where I wasn't sleeping, maybe 2-3 hours at night, and then I'd wake up and I was like in a full-on panic attack. I didn't have a dream or anything like that. Just all of a sudden my body, I don't know what was going on. And I'd try to go back to sleep. I'd start to doze off and it would hit me again. So I'd say, I'm up.
Getting up.
And I'd go outside. Thank God it was in the summer. I could go out and do stuff at 1-2 in the morning, whether it was irrigating or feeding cows or whatever. I could
Pulling
do it.
horse teeth. Yeah.
Pulling horse
There's
teeth.
plenty of them to pull. So
I wish we could really dive into this, but we gotta take a break. But thank you for sharing what you did, Clinton. I'm looking forward to hearing about the next part of where we're at in the recovery process for you. So we'll be right back.
At Brand Inc., we know your business's reputation rides on every detail, especially when it's on the road. Our commercial vehicle wraps combine eye-catching design, 3M-backed installation, and a seamless process built for busy teams. Whether it's one truck or an entire fleet, we help you turn heads, build trust, and grow your business. Your vehicles are always moving. Make sure your brand moves with them. Start your project at brandinc.com. That's Inc with a K, brandinc.com.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
Well, welcome back. It is so good to have you on here, Clinton.
You know what? I'm going to ask that this video run all the time.
You know what? Can we carry on with our guest? He's busy. He's in Reno. He's got cattle to...
Clint, your buddy here sits and gives me the finger about 7 times a show.
it's true, he does.
Wow.
Well, he has to pull it out of his nose to do
Well, he needs one of those contamination modes. All right, sorry, Wick. Go ahead.
Okay. And again, Clint, obviously I'm a little biased because I've known you now for a few years on your story and the incredible power of it. If you could quickly, if you're open to touching on, before we get into the whole recovery phase of this, that one of the things, and I think we talked about it, is okay, you get that help, and all of a sudden you see palm trees, right? And that's the start of your journey of this recovery. Have there been any other dark times, though, still within that recovery?
Oh, absolutely. With PTSD, there's no cure. But I've been to 2 PTSD retreats. I do public speaking. I wrote a book. And these have all helped me and hurt me. Mm-hmm. I know what to do now when I start going down the rabbit hole. I know exactly what to do.
Can you explain what you mean by it helps you and hurts you?
Sure. When you're public speaking, you're retelling your story. Yeah. When I'm doing a podcast, I'm retelling my story. So I have to be mentally prepared that after I may hit a little bit of anxiety because I'm reliving a trauma by telling it again.
Gotcha.
But I know how to cope with that now, prepare myself now. Sometimes it's super easy, and sometimes I'm like, oh boy, that was a hard one. Because a lot of times after you do a speech, people want to come up and say, thank you. I'm you.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me. And now you're dealing with people for an hour and a half, hearing their stories. So it can be very draining. But you know what? I feel God spared me for those that are still suffering. So I will take all the time in the world to hear a person's story. We all have a story that needs to be shared because somebody's going to, when you share a story, somebody might go, me too. Wow, I've never heard, I thought I was the only one, or I thought I was the worst one. And I get that because I was thinking the same thing. You know, when I wrote my book, I was getting emails and I was terrified after my book because I threw everything out there. I mean, almost embarrassingly. And I was getting all these emails, thank you, even from current hockey players and other athletes saying, thank you. I thought I was the only one. And it's amazing if you share if you're down and struggling, you know, these, especially men, talk to a friend, somebody you trust, a spouse. It doesn't have to be a professional. And if that person is honest, they're going to probably go, oh my God, me too. I remember 8 years ago, I was going through that divorce. I was so depressed. I couldn't sleep. We've all got not mental illness, but emotional sickness because that's life. And so we can all relate to a degree of struggles, but it takes courage to share it. And it takes courage to say, me too. I'm not mentally ill, but oh my God, I know depression. I've been there.
And that's what, face it, that's what these guys have really captured is
Right.
guys realizing that there's other guys they can talk to. And
Yeah.
it's normalized because it's like, yeah, I've been through that
Right.
too. It's not like,
Yep.
oh wow, it's like, because we all think we're the only one, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you've talked about obviously growing up in the environment that you did. Then you get the skate. Then you don't go 12 days without sleeping and you take the medications. It's not a suicide attempt, but
Nope.
it's your life is saved. Can you quickly touch on the other major incident because you have had a
Sure.
suicide attempt,
Yeah,
correct?
let's fast forward. I do great for 14, 15 years because Dr. Stahl got me on this great medication that, you know, just worked. And now I finished my playing career, got into coaching. And now as a coach, you're hired to be fired. I'm moving around. I really didn't keep in touch with Dr. Stahl. I just go to our team doctor and say, hey, I need this medication refilled, and they refill it. So what happened is my body started to get immune to the medication. It wasn't working. And I started to gradually go down. And as a lot of people can relate to with mental illness, the instant relief for me anyways was alcohol. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling blue, anxious, OCD, have a few beers. And it worked. But the problem with that is what 2 to 4 beers, then it's 8 to 12, and then it's 20 to 30 beers I was drinking a day just to get through a day. Mind you, that was American beer and I'm Canadian, so it wasn't, you know, all that bad. But so then Richard Zednick,
Cheaper.
I was the pioneer of the neck thing. So Richard Zednick, Florida Panthers, he gets his neck cut. Oof. Now I'm coaching in Columbus with the Blue Jackets, and I'm very media accessible. So of course they're all coming to me. Hey, talk about I didn't know anything about trauma, PTSD, or anything. I haven't been. My medication's not working anymore, and I'm self-medicating, and so that's when I crashed again. I went behind the barn one day with a gun and shot myself in the head. That led to physical recovery and then going to a treatment center for 6 months. And that's where I got diagnosed with PTSD. And the first 2 months, I was like, no. That's a military thing. Wow. And 2 months. And they gave me a book to read, and I read the one chapter on animals, and it had pictures. So I'm reading this, and it's how animals process trauma, and people don't because of our society and the stigma and everything. So long story short, it was about an animal and what happened. And after the animal had the trauma, It got, and I'm cutting this story short. It got up and shook each limb violently, and then its whole body violently, thus processed trauma. So my wife coming to visit me in the treatment facility, she got a little fender bender, and she was telling me about, she was so proud. I held it together. The cops came. I wrote out a little report, and then her whole demeanor changed into disappointment. And she goes, then, Clint, I got in the car and I just started to shake and I cried. And I went, that's it. PTSD. That's what animals do and we don't do it. And I'm jumping around going, I got PTSD. And she goes, you're on medication here, aren't you? Yeah, you don't get it. You don't understand.
Medic.
Yeah.
Orderly.
And that's when I bought in after 2 months in the facility with the PTSD, because they were saying PTSD and I'm going, no, that's military. STD maybe, not PTSD.
Hey, Clint, in your treatment of your PTSD, have you ever done anything called EMDR, or are you familiar with ART or any of that?
Oh, yes, I've done both. So about, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I started to have the nightmares and the flashbacks. Hadn't had them for years. I was like, oh no. But now I've been educated and acceptance and dropped the ego on push through as a man, especially. I'll be fine. I immediately got a hold of a counselor, went to her, and she said, and she knew my story and blah, blah, blah. She goes, we're going to do a thing called EMDR. I said, all right. 3 treatments. I haven't had a flashback.
It's crazy, isn't it? It changed it fundamentally in one session changed my life.
So a lot of veterans do not like EMDR. And I'm like you guys, I work with veterans. But the ART is a newer form and it's a little less harsh, I think. And so I highly recommend it for trauma.
And
PTSD.
for those of you listening, I lost my mic. You know what ART stands for, Mark? It stands for Accelerated Resolution Therapy. And it's less invasive than EMDR as far as recalling our traumas and our stories. And I think about, there's a lot of therapists out there who aren't real trauma informed. And when they invite clients in and all they do is regale them over and over with their trauma stories, guys, when you're talking about trauma, which is so prominent, 99.9% of all of us, and certainly the guys we deal with, you really have to have a therapist who understands how to deal with trauma. Because, Clint, you nailed it earlier when you said, you sit and do all these talks and all you're doing is replaying. Your brain doesn't know if it's right now or if it's 6 years ago when we get lost in this stuff. So it's really important that therapists really understand the role of trauma in everybody's lives.
Yeah.
So what now? What are you doing now to stay in a spot?
Okay, so what I've learned is I've got to take my medication and keep in touch with my shrink, okay? Because I don't want to get immune to, we got to tweak, we got to whatever. So and I learned meditation, and the big word now is mindfulness. Try mindfulness. It means staying in the moment. It's hard because we all want to, oh shoot, I got to do this. Or we guilt and shame, we go into the past. Try to stay in the moment. It's hard, but it's effective. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. I think working out is crucial. I try to work out the first thing in the morning, get the blood going, endorphins. It works. Things like that. Again, counseling. I immediately went to a counselor when I started to struggle. I didn't try to push through and do it by myself. And the other thing is be of service. Being of service is me doing this podcast. You gentlemen having a podcast, having guests, getting the word out. That's being of service. Everybody thinks, I don't have time to join the Rotary Club. Opening the door for somebody and smiling, going to work, and you're not feeling real good, but you put on that smile, and pretty soon you do feel good. Because if you smile or try to laugh, that's why I try to use humor.
Yeah.
Humor is a great way to get out of yourself and into others. And if you see somebody else laugh, it's contagious and it brings you up. So being of service is huge. That's why I public speak. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm on this podcast. because somebody's going to hear your story and go, wow, me too.
Yeah.
So being a service is probably one of the best things you can do. Get out of yourself and into others.
And I think that what I'm hearing is what we talk about a lot, these guys talk about at Face It, and you've proven is you probably have a lot of other things to do too. You're a pretty busy guy, but
I try to be.
you have to put the effort in. You have to do these things. It doesn't
Okay,
happen
so Wickert,
all the time.
you
Yep.
you know depression,
Yep.
and when you're in that hole in that darkness, it is so hard to get out of bed, to get busy, you just want to crawl in that hole and stay in it.
Yep.
And pray that it passes.
Yep.
The best, if you can just push yourself to be a little bit proactive, go for a walk. For me, the quicker I get outside,
Yep.
the better, even if it's cold or even hot, and I try to get busy. It might not alleviate the depression, but it alleviates some of the pain and symptoms. And I said pain, and people that don't understand mental illness, whether it be depression, anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, bipolar, I just tell people, because it's hard, unless you've been there, it's really hard for somebody to understand. I just say, it's the worst pain in the world. It's a different type of pain. Everybody can see somebody with a physical injury. Oh, you broke your leg? Oh, man, that hurts. Everybody can understand physical pain. Not everybody can understand mental pain. I would rather have my neck cut again and again and again than go into the darkness of depression. Seriously, that's a big statement.
Yep. Yep. But so true.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you've talked about other people and stuff. Who's your support system? You said talk to people, that's important. Who's your support system?
I've got, Mark Wick is a guy I know I can pick the phone up anytime. And he does, when I do talk to him and I'm in a bad, he checks in on me. He'll be texting me, hey, how you doing? How you doing? And Mark's a guy that I can be totally honest with because he understands, he's lived it. I've got a few hockey guys, named Rick Dudley, who's a pretty big name in hockey. Played with him. He coached my teams. Then I worked for him as a goalie coach when he was a GM in Florida, Atlanta. Where else? But anyways, I've got my wife. Don't take this the wrong way. She is not a support system for me, and don't take that the wrong way.
That's fair.
She loves me, but she does not get it.
Right.
Yep.
She tries to be supportive, but it's almost like counterproductive talking to her because she doesn't really. She and when we're in that place, we're highly sensitive, and she's the one I love. So I can take something that she says that she's trying to help me and turn it around. And like, really, you said that? You know what? I don't want to talk to you. You don't get it.
I've watched a lot of guys in our groups who think their wife or their partner is their only go-to, and they ruin relationships because they expect this partner to do so. I don't want to get too Freudian here, but I've watched a lot of men turn their wives into their mothers, expecting them to fix their lives.
But Mark, that's just expanding a little bit on my story. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we're highly sensitive, and if they don't say it or just say it the right way, we get our feelings hurt.
Too much baggage attached.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And don't get me wrong, I love her to death.
Yep.
She tries her hardest, but I have learned that she is not my go-to.
Yep. We're going to take a quick break, but one thing before we talk about it here, and you'll understand this, we have to be active in our recovery, and it's not always easy. Because if it was easy, what would they call it? Basketball. We will be right back.
Launched in 2009, Face It is a Minneapolis-based nonprofit organization focused on working with men who deal with depression. Using a peer support model that leverages men's groups, mentoring, social activities like retreats, baseball games, and fishing trips, we provide more than 12,000 hours of free services to hundreds of men each year. And yes, I said free. We never charge for any of our peer support programs, and we will never ask you for a copy of your insurance card. If you're tired of feeling alone in your fight against depression, please visit us at faceitfoundation.org or drop Mark or Bill an email at info@faceitfoundation.org.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
Welcome back, everyone, for our very final segment for today's episode. Again, thank you so much for Clint to be here and to share your story. You know, it's so powerful. A number of years ago, when I did not complete a suicide attempt, I felt that my higher power told me that I had more to do. And I think that's kind of your story too, right? You were to the point where you were almost dead, but yet, you know what? A few times, but yet You're still out there pushing it, spreading the word, doing right by a lot of people.
You know, in 12-step programs like AA, you got to find a higher power, and a lot of people struggle with that. I never struggled with it because as a kid in my depression, laying in bed, my dad acting out or whatever's going on, I was so alone that I found God very, very young. So for me, that was not a big deal. Some people it is, but there's something bigger than us. I certainly would be dead by now if I didn't have God in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and God, the God of your choosing, I guess. I'm a Christian, but you know, I'm whatever works for you.
Yeah.
You know, there's something bigger than us.
Yeah. We always do this with each podcast, and I'll do it with you now. You know, try to imagine there's a guy driving down the road, and he just happens to be listening to this podcast. He's struggling with life, but he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know why he is the way he is. If he's listening to this podcast, what kind of advice could you give him?
You're not alone. Like, it's like I said, when I wrote my book and I'm getting all these emails and stuff, I'm like, holy moly, there's a lot of Clint Malarchuks out there, because as Wicker stated, you think you're the only one, and then you go, there's other people, but they're not as bad as me. They're not as sick as me. My gosh, now that I'm in this mental health field, I meet people all the time. I mean, like I said, when my book came out, I was getting pounded by emails, and I went, whoa. And current athletes, you know, who got the world, and everybody's looking at them, and you know, they're struggling. And we look at them actors, like look at all these actors and actresses that, you know, drug overdoses and things like that. You know, we just lost Matthew Perry, a year or two ago, you know, and I read his book. You know, it doesn't matter how successful you are. And that's the other thing. If you think it's a lack of character or a lack of toughness to struggle mentally, okay, we got all these military veterans, the most tough mentally men and women. They go over and they see stuff and they come back and they self-medicate and die by suicide. We're around 22 a day of the toughest people in the world, mentally and physically. So there you go. Mental illness is not a fact. There's no factor on how mentally tough you are. It's a disorder like anything else. If you're tough, does that mean you're not going to get cancer?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. See my point.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. You know, we always end our show by talking about stuff we've learned today throughout.
No, you said it was $1,000 gift certificate.
Wick's got it for you. Wick's got it for you.
Yeah, it's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Check's in the mail.
Yep. Unfortunately, we sent it to the Vegas address. Sorry about that. So there might be a delay. But you know what? I want to know from our guys here, what have we learned today? How about you, Mr. Wick? Do you want to start?
You know, I knew.
Put his crayons away in his coloring book. Get his attention.
I've learned of the high regard here.
Who's your support system?
Wow, yeah, I'm going to call him as soon as we're done here.
I got you, buddy.
Okay,
You've
thanks.
been traumatized.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if I learned anything from Clint because I've heard his story. We've had the opportunity to talk so much, but I'm always amazed at the things that he's doing and the impact that he's having. And I hope and think he realizes the impact that you're having. But
I do.
Just that the one thing I learned from Clint every time I talk to him is that there's hope. That there's always hope out there. We may not feel it, right?
Yeah.
But it is there and it will come back. And we just have to trust. And by by that time reach out to people and stuff like that, because he has done and continues to do just great things. So
Awesome.
Thanks, Mark.
What about you, Andy? What did you learn today?
Well, before I answer, I should clarify. So you said after what happened on the ice, you were back playing after a week?
10 days.
10 days. All right. So when you donate blood, they tell you not to do it again for 8 weeks. So what I learned is that hockey players are insane.
Yeah.
you didn't know that already?
And goalies.
I kind of knew, but I mean, it's good to have proof.
Andy, I didn't really get my strength back until that summer.
No, I'm sure.
July. Yeah.
Jeez. And I should probably do a serious answer, because I pretty much always do a joke answer, but it's kind of my thing. But I mean, you talked about being in the moment. I have 2 very young children, so I am in the moment quite often. It's pretty much.
Are they called Mark, Andy, or Mark, Bill, and Mark?
Wow.
Yeah, I've got a 1-year-old.
He's talking about you.
I got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So
Wick is the 1-year-old.
It really is just like constantly being in the moment. And as difficult as it can be to raise children that age and how much attention they require, it really is difficult to think about anything else except what they're doing right now. You're not worrying about your bills or whatever, your health, that sort of thing.
What a great example.
You're doing something right now, and if you stop and start worrying about something else, then your baby's going to start drinking the dog water. So
Yeah. You're going to have a handful of poop.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday, almost.
So I learned. I felt I knew this, but that you're better looking than Brad Pitt.
Absolutely.
Learn
I knew that.
But I did state that.
Something that was actually disturbing that you said is that when you call Wick, he answers.
Yep.
Wow, that's you're pretty high up the ladder, buddy.
Wicker, come on. Here.
I get sent to voicemail. It's amazing. I should start saying,
Well,
hey, this is Clint calling. Please answer my call.
You know what? He really doesn't always answer because he's a busy man and he's working with somebody that needs help. But he always calls me back.
Wow. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I certainly didn't know that you were hospitalized at age 12, which, again, as Mark talked about, I mean, how does a 12-year-old process that?
Right. Yeah.
You know, without knowing much about life or the world, and here you are in these situations. That was pretty amazing. And I think this is something hopefully that you understand. You know, it's been a while now since you've been out and told your story, but, you know, there's a lot more athletes coming out now and sharing their stories. Not only hockey, but all kinds of them. You know, we have Matt Dumba here in town. Kevin Love was a basketball player here in town that talked about his anxiety where he couldn't play the second half of a basketball game. I mean, I think what you said, having the courage to go out and do that has opened the doors for other guys. Said it's okay for them to share their story too. So thank you so much for that.
Well, celebrity status does help, I think. And I mean that humbly. If you've done something, like, people can go, wow, if that professional athlete struggles, or that actor, or, you know, somebody famous, then they, well, okay.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Meyer? What did you learn today?
I learned a lot. First of all, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time and sharing. And, you know, you talked about ego, and you talked about you finally set your ego aside. And, you know, our ego protects us in many ways, but sometimes it protects us when we need to be vulnerable. And it just reminds me, and again, we spend all our time with men, but, you know, we guys just assume, tough it out. You alluded to all these things, Clint. Tough it out. Just get on with it. Get over it. And when I cut your story off initially, your story's powerful. I mean, I've been held up at gunpoint. I've flipped a truck over. I've been assaulted in a bar fight. I mean, I've had all sorts of things happen to me. And I'll go back to when I was 5 or 6 and was bullied and didn't do stuff right in kindergarten. That shit probably impacted me as much as any of that other stuff. And when you mentioned being hospitalized at 12, that's a lot. And that's what I want our listeners to hear, is that the ego says, you know, it's got to be this great big violent act to get PTSD. No, it doesn't. And I appreciate you sharing all you did. So I learned you're a really good man. I appreciate you.
You know what, Mark? You said the word vulnerable, and you got me thinking a little bit, because we're talking to men, maybe some veterans and things like that. to be vulnerable. That takes courage.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about courage and pushing through, try and use your courage to be vulnerable.
Amen.
And get help and talk, or help somebody, or talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And the other word I like to use is acceptance.
Yeah.
Once we accept, okay, I've got PTSD, I've got some issues mentally or addiction. That once you accept it and no more denial, then you can be proactive and get better and heal.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, it's time for us to wrap up this episode. Clint, thank you so much for your time and your story and your willingness to share. That's it's been really a joyful time to listen to you and your story. Thanks to our sponsors, Brand Inc., JT Egner, Face It Foundation, the rest. Thanks to Andy Bernard and our Tom Bernard podcast for giving us this beautiful studio and the production team and stuff. And thanks to our wonderful co-hosts, Mark Wicker, or Earl now?
Earl. I'm going with Earl.
And Mr. Meyer.
I heard Irv.
And of course, Andy. And so from all of us, thank you guys all for watching or listening, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Clint.
Thank you, Clint.
Love you, pal.
Thank you,
Take care.
everybody. You bet.
You've been listening to What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. It's real men telling real stories. From depression to anxiety. No doctors or professionals, just real men talking about real issues. For more, visit the Face It Foundation's website at www.faceitfoundation.org. To ask questions for future episodes, send us an email at wtpointpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at What's the Point Podcast, and find us on Twitter at WTPointPodcast. Till next time, this is What's the Point Podcast. And remember, you are the point.